Now, something you wrote in the book also I wanted to ask you about here, and that is in the first chapter, you write about the distinction between philosophy and science did not exist in the ancient world. Now, I think there are some individuals like um, Angus Fletcher and maybe Jonathan Haidt. I think there are some people who are trying to meld philosophy and science together again a little bit here. But my question for you is, has that loss or the weakening of the connection between philosophy and science, has that impacted the way that we think critically today?
Well, I'd say, if you ask a philosopher, especially, they will indicate that philosophy is not just the sort of father of science, but the father of all disciplines. And you can certainly make the case that certain disciplines, science, psychology, grew out of a philosophical tradition. And it's not just ancient, right? Until, the sort of later part of the 19th century, people didn't call themselves scientists. They called themselves natural philosophers, right? So the connection is that you are making inquiries about the world, and some of those inquiries are about nature, science. Some of the inquiries about the human mind, psychology. Some of them are about the soul or religious matters, right? So I would say, the philosophical toolkit is utilized in all those fields, right? The discipline of philosophy will apply a set of tools, logic being first and foremost, but other sort of tools to an inquiry. And if you look at what scientists do, if you look at what scholars do in any field, they are in fact still using logic and argumentation to sort of point people towards a conclusion. So I would say, there are elements that I bring up in the book from philosophy that go back to Aristotle, logic, argumentation, persuasive communication, rhetoric, et cetera. Those do underpin all those fields, certainly when they are coming up with theories, testing them, communicating them to others. So, I would say, this is sort of probably a kind of separate tangent, but I would say one of the reasons the debates we have between sort of science and religion, for example, are so empty and sort of both hostile and vacuous at the same time, as I often describe it as. It used to be, science, religion, and philosophy formed three legs of the stool, right? But nobody knows philosophy anymore. So we've kicked that leg out. And we wonder why the stool is still unstable. Philosophy provides a language for, if not resolving, at least for people of differing opinions to argue things out. And I think, in a way, my work and the work of other people, including yourself, to sort of bring critical thinking back into the discussion in all matters is to sort of stabilize our discussions. I think, why are we shouting at each other rather than trying to convince each other? Well, we don't know how to convince each other because we are not taught the sort of critical thinking tool set. And that's what I'm trying to bring back into education.